my question is, what is your connection of Indian music in your music?
Well, originally I'm a kind of West Indian player, right? Caribbean player, sort of like Afro-Rican player. And I come from that line, Afro-Rican players, father, grandfather, and so on, to the islands, beyond the islands, Africa, and so on and so forth. So the native thing is there, the Indian thing is there, but you're talking about East Indian.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about East Indian drums.
Sure.
So I got involved in East Indian drums when I joined the Krishnas. That was the main reason why I deviated from what I was doing in jazz and joined the Krishna movement, because their music attracted my ear and my heart. They were singing melodies that I felt were really important to me to hear and practice, right? And their whole setup was that there was a god called Krishna and Radha, his counterpart, his, I guess you might say his other, the feminine, right? He was masculine, she's feminine, Radha. And they had a certain tradition of thousands of years of yogic devotional music to God, let's call it higher beauty, higher wisdom, higher intelligence, higher being, right? God is that, which Krishna represented that, which other people felt he was a blue-bodied or black-bodied alien, say, from another dimension of the universe. And so what they were doing, which is, I think, typically native and relevant to what I was just saying about the drums as healing, right? They bring you to a zone, say, rhythmic zone, right? A certain kind of openness and a certain kind of trance-like condition. So the Indians have their version and their disciplines based upon certain rules, laws, or rags and talas, times and sounds and scales. This goes back to ancient days, and they're very strict about it. And even though there appears to be improvisation there, it's very deliberate improvisation along certain ragic, sort of, I guess you might say, established lines of discipline and performance, playing, how you approach these things technically. So it's not jazz. When people say, oh, it's like jazz because you're just playing, they say, no way like jazz. Jazz, you can play whatever you need to play, depending on what you choose to add to what's going on, depending on your background and so on and so forth. So you just about play anything in a creative way relative to jazz, but that's not what's going on there. It's much more strict, right, and attention to, let's say, the rags, right, the established laws, say, the established lines, the established intervals, the established tempos, and so on and so forth. Very, very strict. So very difficult, very complex, and so on. Right. So there's a little bit of, let's say, modal influence of my music, but it's not actually Indian modal music. But when you hear the harmonium, like this little organ box for chanters and instrumentalists, yeah, that's kind of setting up a mode for you, a very simple basis. So, yeah, all of the folk music of the world has drone music behind, let's say, melodies and, let's say, certain practices. People from everywhere will establish their own, whether Chinese, Japanese, Greek, Italian, Spanish, African, Northern, right, Native, whatever. You have similar bases, similar, simplicities of rhythm and simplicities of harmony and melodies that are respectfully called folk music, appropriate to the climate or the condition or the culture. And so we have a little bit of all of that in us. So I respect the little bit I play, but I don't want to call it Hindu. No, this is just much more basic street, simple, infinitely simpler than Hindu. It's voodoo. We do voodoo. You do voodoo, man. You.
Yeah.